What's up, guys? Back with another video. Today, we are taking a look at the Atlanta Dream and their new and improved offense under Coach Karl Smesko, Florida Gulf Coast women's basketball legendary coach, always known for having elite three-point shooters, taking a ton of threes, and I think a lot of people wondered whether or not this style of play would translate to the WNBA level and how he would do it, more importantly, with so many post players. Obviously, Brittany Griner with the Atlanta Dream, Brianna Jones, not typically known as three-point shooters, but again, the Dream have had one of the most successful offenses this season, averaging 84 points per game, but it hasn't all been done by the three-point shot. They've got a great combination of an outside and inside presence with great guard play and size. So we're gonna take a look at not just their three-point shooting, but we're also gonna look at their pick and roll offenses, some of my favorite sets that they run out of timeouts. We're gonna look at some of their cutting principles as well, and just a couple other things that I think that make their offense really unique and a lot of fun to watch. All right, we can't dive into the video without taking a look at the statistical numbers that are gonna support some of the clips that I'm going to show next. So you can see here's just an overview of the Dream's offense this season. 84 points per game, standing at 5th in the league as of August 3rd. 51% effective field goal percentage. We use this percentage as opposed to just normal field goal percentage because it takes into account the extra point that comes from the three-point line as opposed to weighing twos and threes equally. Then we go to turnover rate. This, I think, is what really separates the Dream. They lead the league in turnover rate. Essentially, they are only turning the ball over 13% of the time, and they average 21 assists per game versus only 12 turnovers. Maximizing their possessions not just by taking care of the basketball, but they also lead the league in the overall rebounding rate. So combined for all of the total rebounds that could be grabbed throughout the course of a game, they are rebounding 53% of all the possible rebounds that there are. Karl Smesko has elected to start two bigs all season long, and I'm not really gonna go too deep on the two big lineup, but they do run some horns when they have the two bigs in. I've noticed some horns alignment, which again is pretty basic, pretty standard for any basketball fan. You have your two bigs straddling the three-point line. The guard at the top of the floor can choose to go either left or right off of either screen, but the concept when they play two bigs seems to be role replace, or just that they're always on opposites of each other. So if one big's high, the other one's low. So whether they're running some ball screen continuity that I've seen just studying their offenses, or they're running horns, the idea is one big is flashing high and one is sealing low. They'll look for some duck-in, some high-low action, and now with Griner even stepping out to shoot the three, Jones as well, it's pretty difficult to guard with that type of length. But don't want to spend too much time there. I really wanted to get into a lot of their pick and roll play, but just some nuances that their guards seem to look for a lot, which is the pick and roll reject. Any good pick and roll coach or offense knows the first thing that guards should look for when using a pick and roll is rejecting the pick and roll, right? The setup move, because most teams practice defensively what happens when guards use the ball screen, right? Because the goal is to send them into the screen in a normal coverage. But what they don't practice is what happens when you get rejected. So rule number one, always look to reject the screen. Therefore, the big is not going to be in a position to be able to help, usually leading to a downhill drive and then hopefully some rotation and an advantage on the back. All right, so we've got the reject rule covered. Now we're gonna talk about some of the alignments that Atlanta likes to use. I've noticed at least a lot as of late is the 4 out, 1 in spread pick and roll. So it spreads the floor, the paint is open. You're gonna notice they like to run it towards the two side. So what I mean by the two side is the side where there's two players on the opposite side of the floor. So left to right a lot of the time, especially for Canada, who likes to get to that right hand for that scoop finish, or it allows her to make that hook pass like you're gonna see here, where she's reading the tag. Again, I'm not gonna break down every single read of the pick and roll, but she reads the defense really well, level 1, level 2, level 3, and hits that shake behind, or the lift, whatever you like to call it. NBA terms, it's the shake, but that spread pick and roll allows for downhill driving lanes, especially when you have shooters filling those other three spots on the perimeter. So the next way Atlanta scores out of the spread pick and roll is actually by using off-ball cuts. You're gonna see in these next two clips are what we call a 45 cut. This is not a new concept by any means, but essentially the player on the wing, or otherwise known as the 45 because it's a 45-degree angle to the basket, will cut to take away the nail help against teams who are really trying to clog the gap and keep the ball handler out of the paint. When an offensive player cuts hard from that 45, it not only puts their defender in a bind, but sometimes it even drags the corner defender in, like you're seeing in that first clip. If I play it again, both defenders end up going with the cutter, which is Hillman, leaving the other player that was left over on the 2 side wide open for a 3. You can tell just by watching that the Atlanta players are trained to understand when to 45 cut. On any baseline drive, regardless of pick and roll situation, whoever's at the 45 on the weak side is going to make a hard cut right to the front of the rim. Once again, you see Naz Hillman cutting hard, making an unselfish play to create a wide open 3-point attempt for a teammate. All right, we're quickly going to hit 2 of my favorite sets I've seen the Atlanta Dream run, and the first one starts in what looks like a double drag action, and they have multiple wrinkles out of this set. So again, coming up in transition, double drag is 2 players setting a ball screen. Can be guard big guard, different options depending on who's first in the screening action. The first clip is just a typical confusion on the switch, shoot behind the screen. The next 2 clips are what I really want you guys to see. This is a fairly new action that I've just started to see in the last year or so. Don't really have a name for it yet, but I'm going to call it the hit and slip. And I love this action because it basically turns what looks like going to be a pick and roll into a get action with a quick slip. This is a great action to run with a big guard who can take advantage of a mismatch by screening below the defender, screen below, stay below, creating the angle for the slip, and then a high IQ post or secondary player in the action who can execute this pass and understand the angles. The last clip just shows some of the weak side action Smesko will use if the initial look on the play is not there. Okay, one more play I quickly wanted to hit was their ATO stagger little touch pass into a back door. So it looks like the action is going to be coming from the player coming off of the stagger screen, but instead it's all lifting the floor to set up a backdoor cut. You're going to see a lot of their offense. There's always 4 players high. They really don't like to fill the corners too often. You'll see even in their spread pick and roll, they play above the break and they really try to leave that weak side corner empty is what I'm seeing lately out of the Dream. To wrap up the video, just a few clips of Atlanta generating high-quality threes through offensive rebound kickouts, a staple. In other words, dagger threes. Any hooper knows the best time to shoot a 3 is coming right off of a pass from the post, top of the floor, teed up, your feet are underneath you, pass right into the hands, on time, on target, 3. So because of the post presence of the Dream with Griner and Jones inside, they see double teams a lot. So these 2 have been really, really good this year, passing the ball out of the post against these double teams. Overall, Atlanta has been my favorite team to watch this season. I'm excited to see them make a deep playoff run. As of the beginning of August, they've beat the top 3 teams in Minnesota, New York, and Phoenix. And let's not forget they're missing their star, Ryan Howard. So wouldn't be surprised to see this team make a deep run, even get to the WNBA Finals. But thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys. See you in the next video.